So on the topic of cybersecurity, um, typically when we look at, at least in my experience, when you look at an enterprise CIO, CTO, or Chief Information Security Officer, and so on, what comes up is, okay, firewall, and let's make sure encryption's in place. Let's make sure we have, this security stack to protect, and this, that, and the other, edge security, etc. This notion of what HackerOne is, and HackerOne's growth has been immense. You've raised huge amounts of money from the top VC firms. So maybe just explain HackerOne, how it's different, and what it's achieving right now in the marketplace.
The cybersecurity industry is something like 120 billion per year. And half of it is wasted on old school services, and the other half is wasted on old technologies. And the real way to drive security today is different. And I'm exaggerating a little bit here for dramatization. But there's an old world where they think of security as a perimeter to build and defend. Like, if I just build a strong enough wall between you and me, then there's no way you can attack me. And they spend all the money building the wall, maintaining the wall, thinking about the wall, extending the wall, like it's wall, 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 wall. And then they think to protect us, we have to hide. We have to be few people. We have to give the keys to very few people. Turns out all of that is counterproductive to true cybersecurity. To build true security, you must first acknowledge that there is no wall that can protect you. So you must assume the zero trust principle. We're saying there's nothing we can trust. We have to validate every component, every module, every package, every whatever it is separately. It's a lot of work, but it can be done by automation. We must know that cybersecurity must be done by everybody in the organization. We are not secure until every employee knows not to click on a phishing link or not to be fooled by some attempt by somebody to hijack them. So you have to turn it inside out and say, oh, we must be open, we must be inclusive, we must involve everybody. We must assume that there is no safe space. Everything can be threatened, and we have to deal with it accordingly. And we have to realize that the key to good security is in how quickly you react. It's a race. It's not a question of whether you have holes in your armor. It is how quickly you react when something happens, when you find the hole or when an attack is happening. That determines your fate. So there's a whole new principle there in cybersecurity, and HackerOne is one of the companies representing it, saying, like, many people thought that people are the problem and technology is the solution in cybersecurity. It's the opposite. It's technology that is the problem, and people are the solution. And not that you would just throw bodies at it, but you would have ethical hackers who love looking for vulnerabilities. They love doing it. They are faster, more creative, more powerful than any machine. We have 1 million hackers signed up in our network, and that's like 86 quadrillion neurons working every day to think through what could go wrong. That's more than any cloud anywhere, any cloud computing infrastructure. And we find vulnerabilities that nobody else could find other than humans. Criminals will find them one day, but we find them before that. So we represent a new wave of cybersecurity that is different. And that's why, on the one hand, it's so difficult to sell it because people are confused as to how it works and whether it works. But it's so disruptive once they adopt it, because they see the immense value of building security from the inside out, but validating it from the outside in. Okay, I could go on for hours, of course, on HackerOne, but it's absolute genius. And going back to our open source discussion, HackerOne, or ethical hacking, is to security what free and open source software is to the software world.
Right. And so the image that comes to my mind is, you'd said, enterprise leaders are building walls, building protections in the form of products. the way I see, the way I understood you to describe HackerOne was there may be little holes in that wall that are going undiscovered, and they may be little now, and they're not. It's not one. There's probably like hundreds, and so finding.
We estimate there's 100 million holes today in the world of software.
So it's like, oh, I'm building this wall, but oh, by the way, what you've built already has, all these holes. And so finding these holes is
Yeah.
one part of the problem, and then quickly rectifying those holes before they become like leaks in the dam and the dam wall breaks.
Yeah.
Right.
We have learned that in other practices of society, like hospital hygiene is today a functioning thing. Like everybody knows that you have to disinfect your hand, and everybody knows that if something that's dirty, you immediately throw it away and take it out. Like you don't let even a tiny part of something dirty get anywhere. Like you react immediately. And in airline safety, if a plane lands and there's just one screw loose, they immediately do a retro and study what were the root causes, who did what, who did not do what, how was it possible. Even if nothing bad happened, they know that they have to analyze even the small deviations, because small deviations lead to bigger deviations, lead to terrible catastrophes. So that principle is at work in all these other industries, or nuclear power plants or something, but not in software.
Yeah.
So we just have to realize that we have been naive and wishfully thinking that it's not a problem, but it is. So, and when we fix it, the fix is not difficult. It's just all we have to do is decide to apply this model. And just like anybody who writes text know they need a proofreader. Everybody who is running a finance department knows that we need auditors to validate the correctness of what's done. And it's the same here. We have people who can find all the weaknesses and
And
turn them into
how quickly can this be turned around? Can weaknesses be exposed within a week, within a few days, within a month?
When we sign up a new customer and launch a program, we find the first vulnerability within 24 hours.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Without exception.
Yeah.
Practically without exception. And the company then needs to fix it, or first determine whether it has to be fixed. Like sometimes they find something that's not severe enough, but most of them are. And then the fix can take anything from 6 hours to 6 months. Depends very much on the product, the organization, where the problem is. The most advanced progressive cloud-based services, they fix very quickly. Those who produce physical products, IoT devices and stuff, for them it takes a long time. It's a long product cycle to get the fix into it. So
Yeah.
so it differs from industry to industry.